When Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos introduced the two-pizza team rule, he wasn't just reducing meeting sizes, he was reshaping how ideas spark across teams. That small shift didn't only speed up collaboration, it set off a chain reaction that led to an entirely new product line, proving how a single decision can ripple through an organization in unexpected ways. Most leaders focus on the immediate effects of their choices, but the real advantage comes from recognizing the second and third-order consequences. Stay with us as we unpack 3 systems thinking levers you can apply today to anticipate these broader impacts. To see why this perspective matters, consider what happens when an executive decision unintentionally sets off a cascade of results that reach far beyond the original intent. If you're new here, please subscribe and like, because I share tips to help you improve your career. Within every organization, executive decisions rest on a hidden architecture, an intricate network of relationships, incentives, and dependencies that shape outcomes in ways leaders rarely see at first glance. The complexity of these systems means even a straightforward directive can set off a chain of events that no one intended. Take the executive who mandates a uniform budget cut across all departments. On the surface, it's an efficient way to trim costs. But in practice, it might quietly eliminate a small team responsible for maintaining the company's most profitable product. Years later, when the market shifts, the absence of that expertise leaves the company unable to adapt. This scenario highlights how decisions travel through organizational pathways, often triggering consequences that only emerge over time. Many traditional decision frameworks focus on immediate trade-offs, missing the deeper patterns that drive organizational behavior. The Boeing 737 MAX crisis is a powerful example. When high-stakes software work shifted heavily to contractors to save development costs, gaps in safety responsibility emerged. This led to inconsistent safety practices across suppliers, problems that only became apparent after tragic consequences. Such stories are not rare. Research into organizational failures consistently finds that the real damage often comes from overlooked feedback loops and unanticipated ripple effects, not from the original decision itself. Systems dynamics offers a way to make sense of this complexity. One type of feedback loop, reinforcement, amplifies the effects of a decision. For example, Amazon's two pizza teams encouraged faster communication, which led to more innovation, fueling further growth. Another, the balancing loop, stabilizes change. As a market grows, saturation naturally slows expansion, prompting leaders to adjust strategies. Delay loops, meanwhile, mean that the true impact of a decision might not surface until much later, as when short-term sales incentives gradually erode customer loyalty. Understanding these feedback mechanisms is crucial for leaders who want to avoid being blindsided by cascading consequences. When you recognize how choices propagate through these hidden structures, you can identify leverage points and anticipate where small adjustments might yield outsized returns. With this perspective, you're ready to examine how organizations can map their decision ecosystems to reveal the underlying patterns that drive long-term performance. If you're finding this helpful, please subscribe and like, because it helps us create content that matters to you. Also, if you want to take your skills further, check out our executive education and executive coaching programs at execlead.com. One of the clearest examples of mapping a decision ecosystem comes from Johnson & Johnson's response to the Tylenol crisis. After a series of product tampering incidents, the company didn't just address the immediate threat, they analyzed the broader system of trust, safety, and consumer behavior. By introducing tamper-resistant packaging, Johnson & Johnson not only restored public confidence, but also set a new industry standard. This move reflected an understanding that decisions ripple through interconnected networks, influencing outcomes far beyond their origin. Most leadership dashboards track isolated metrics, quarterly profits, departmental performance, but rarely reveal the dynamics that create systemic vulnerabilities. Microsoft's leadership faced this firsthand. Their promotion system, focused on individual code contributions, unintentionally rewarded siloed behavior and discouraged collaboration. When executives shifted their review criteria to emphasize team outcomes and cross-group impact, they saw a marked change in how teams shared knowledge and solved problems together. Leaders at Microsoft discovered hidden incentives that empowered silos, and by mapping these incentives, they found leverage points for cultural transformation. To visualize these complex relationships, organizations use several practical tools. Influence diagrams illustrate how choices move through departments, helping to identify unintended consequences, as Johnson & Johnson did with its packaging initiative. Stock and flow models track resources as they accumulate or drain, revealing where small tweaks can prevent bigger issues. Feedback loop charts clarify whether processes amplify or dampen the effects of decisions, providing insight into which interventions will build resilience. Building resilience means designing systems that can absorb shocks instead of magnifying them. Toyota's Stop the Line policy, for example, empowers workers to halt production over quality concerns, creating a balancing effect that prevents minor issues from escalating. In contrast, many social media platforms use engagement algorithms that often reinforce extreme content, a pattern that can spiral without intentional checks. While not every organization faces these exact challenges, the principle remains: resilient systems institutionalize mechanisms to interrupt negative cycles before they grow. The most important insight is not the ability to predict every possible outcome, but to set up structures that reveal problems early. NASA's pre-mortem exercises, where teams imagine future failures before a project launches, are designed to surface hidden risks. Cross-functional review boards can trace how a marketing decision might affect supply chains months down the line. These practices allow leaders to move from reactive problem-solving to proactive system stewardship. By understanding how to map these decision pathways, you set the stage for a more intentional approach to leadership, one that shapes not only individual choices, but the very systems that guide them. Conclusion comes down to building habits that reveal the true impact of your choices. First, track feedback loops to see how actions reinforce or counteract each other. Second, anticipate delays. Some effects only show up over time. Third, consider cross-functional impacts to understand how one department's decision shapes another's. Fourth, explore alternative scenarios to prepare for unintended outcomes. Our systems thinking checklist walks you through each step, giving you a practical tool for your next major decision. Which loop have you overlooked? Feedback, delays, cross-functional impacts, or scenarios? Let us know below. Remember, your best decisions depend as much on the architecture around them as on your judgment alone. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like, because it helps us bring you more free videos. And if you're ready to grow your career, visit execbeat.com to learn about our executive education and coaching.